Oh. Oh. Good evening and welcome to the April 7th meeting of the Appointments Subcommittee. Will you all rise and salute the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call of the members, Councilor Carino Sawaya.
Here.
Here, Councilor Haas. Absent, Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here, Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here, and Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. We have 3 appointments today on tonight's agenda. First being that of Shaimeh Husani to the Human Rights Commission.
Hi, Shaimeh, are you here? Can you come up, please, to the podium? What is it? Shema. Okay, can you just press the button so you can have the mic?
Hello.
Hi, Shema, how are you?
I'm good, ma'am.
Sorry,
How are you?
I didn't pronounce your name right.
No worries.
So you're getting selected to the Human Rights Commission. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
Yes, of course. So I'm actually going up for reappointment into this commission. I've been a part of this commission since its reestablishment in 2020. I have served as the vice chair for the first 3 years, and then for the past 2 up until now, I have been elected as chair and reelected as chair for the 2024-2025 year. Ever since I got appointed into the commission, my duty was to bring issues that are happening in our city to light to the rest of the to the community members, and then figure out different ways of how to solve those problems, especially going through community engagement, which is something that we have done and incorporated over the past 2 years, especially with the circle practices. We like to encourage community engagement because that's the only way that we know how to handle a lot of the issues that are happening in our city, especially when it comes to racial and ethnic equities or inequities that are found in the city of Revere.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to councilors. Any councilors? Councilor Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shame, I'm so glad that the mayor has chosen to reappoint you to this commission. I think it's a testament to the work that you've been doing, and especially the last maybe year or so, you've been leading the commission. You're doing a really great job. I got a chance to take a look at the documentary that the team put together I think it was in the fall, and it was really well done, really intentional, and I want to continue to encourage those practices here in the city as we kind of make an assessment of how we make our city more available for everybody. So really appreciate the work that you've been doing, and I hope that my colleagues will join in approving this reappointment.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor Novoselsky?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shema, thank you for everything you've done. You know, I know she's a constituent of mine, living down on Beach Street, 525. And I thank you for all the work you've done and all the folks that you connected with. And it's just amazing that you've continued it and nothing has diminished from anybody to diminish what you've done. And I think it's important to keep it up, and I thank you, and I look forward to voting for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hess?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chama, thanks so much for being here. A lot of residents reach out and ask what exactly the Human Rights Commission is. I've got a lot of questions, and I know you talked a little bit about it here tonight. Can you talk a little bit about the strides the city has made the last few years, especially during your time as the chairperson? Thank you.
So one thing that we decided that we were brainstorming about doing in the first couple of years was how are we going to, like, the only way we're going to solve a lot of the issues in our city is if we hear directly from the community and have the community be involved more in making these decisions of, we know as a Human Rights Commission that we inherently don't have an executive or a legislative power, but our job is to bring that information to you folks in order to make those strategic choices. So we know that the Human Rights Commission is only somewhat representative of what the city of Revere is, so we knew that the next step is to have more community engagement. And that's when we started talking about, that's why I brought up the idea of circle practice. I believe our first circle practice was just with the Human Rights Commission, just to see, like, how is it gonna work with City Hall? How is it, like, how are these conversations supposed to go? And then over the years, especially the last one that the one that we did 2 years ago and the last one that we did back in November, in regards to Indigenous Peoples Day, we heard opinions from people that aren't found in the Human Rights Commission. If you understand what I'm trying to say. So I heard from community members, I heard from different community members, and I heard from different sides of the story, and that led us to opening a conversation about a topic that people don't like to actively talk about when it comes to the city of Revere. And that's just a step. If we could have more engaging conversations like Indigenous Peoples Day, in regards to Italian Heritage Month, in regards to the city of Revere, we could talk about other controversial topics that isn't only limited to the people of the Human Rights Commission, but actively involves people of the community. So that is like a first step, and that step is a fundamental step, which is why we're taking so long to make that first step strong before we move on to the other step, which means, are we actively going out into the community? Are we doing all of these things to have, so that not only is the community coming to us, are we going to the community themselves? So one, are we able to build that foundation in our own selves to be open to have those conversations? And then from there, are we vulnerable enough to hear the opinions that, let's be honest, some of us don't want to hear, but we should be hearing,
Right.
in order to make decisive and strategic choices. So that's basically it. I knew going into it, it's going to be a very long process to see active changes, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I feel like everyone in this committee knows that, and in this committee knows that, and that my steps forward is to keep pushing people to come to our meetings, to have our members actively come to our meetings, to have our members speak their minds, because if there isn't a level of honesty within the commission, then there isn't enough honesty coming from the community, and then we won't have that level of fluidity between the two groups. Another thing is that one thing that I made sure, especially with the integration of the community members with the circle practice itself, I don't like the idea of having a barrier just like here, where the community members are here and the people who are elected are over here. The plan is to have almost every meeting, when it's necessary, to have to be built in a circle format, so that there isn't a barrier between us and the community. So I know it's like, when it comes to the long run, it sounds so trivial, but these are the very small important things that we need to do in order to build that morale with the community before we start talking about, citywide projects, citywide programs, things that we would propose to you folks in order to make active changes in the city. But we can't get to that step before making that first step happen. So, yes.
Thank you.
Great, well said, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll continue to do a good job for the city, and all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you very much, Commission.
Next appointment is that of Lark Logan to the Cultural Council.
Lark, can you come up, please? And just state your name and address for the record, please, and just turn on the mic.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Lark Logan, and I just recently bought a property at 10 Ocean Avenue, so
Congratulations.
I'm a new resident of Revere.
Can you
Thank you.
tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Cultural Council, please?
Well, I first came to Boston in 1972. I'm a New Yorker from New York City on Long Island. Came here, hello, Long Island, okay. Came here for Tufts University in '72, fell in love with Boston, and I've lived here off and on for 30 years. My radio career started here at WILD and KISS 108, and oh, thank you. If you stayed up late, then you heard me. But that experience, and also growing up in New York, I'm very, very passionate about the arts. I have a background in theater, a background in music. I was a national representative for our high school forensics league in debate and public speaking. And I've managed bands, I've written proposals for bands going on tour, things of that nature. So now that I have set roots in Revere, I've noticed Revere has changed tremendously from when I first knew about it in 1972. I love the diversity that's come here. I went to the performance of Grease the other day and was totally blown away by the kids. And that's something I'm passionate about. I'm not sure what the Cultural Council would like from me. I just have a lot I think I can bring to the table. I'd like to work with the kids with theater, possibly getting workshops using some Emerson faculty, working with maybe developing the experience of doing some television, maybe even having a radio program, things that, I can mentor and be involved with. I'd love to see a community theater here in Revere. I'm a big supporter of that. And maybe down the line, this beautiful beach, I wish we had a hat shell, to do theater and music. So, I don't know the politics of Revere because I've only been here a few months. But I put roots here, and I really would like to be involved with the community, and I especially love working with high school kids. So I have a lot I can bring to the table. Someone just needs to direct and tell me where my talents can go, and I'm there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I used to go to Skippy White's to get my records from when listening to WILD.
Oh,
Because
okay.
no one else would had them, so I used to go to Skippy White's in Roxbury just to get them.
Awesome.
Crazy.
Wonderful.
Any counselors? Counselor Karina Sawaya?
Thank you for coming to the city of Revere. You are
Thank
a
you.
breath of fresh air. I am so excited. I can't wait to work with you.
Well, thank you.
And whatever you need from me, I'm right there.
Well, I'm going to write your name down.
You write my name down. I
okay.
promise you that.
I will just say this, I'm really excited, and that play, The Kids with Grease, it was amazing. And I want to be involved with it. So, thank you.
Do a good job for the city. All
Thank
in
you.
favor? All opposed? So ordered. Congratulations.
And next up is the appointment of Sheila Johnson to the Human Rights Commission.
Hi, Sheila. Could you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Sheila Johnson, 98 Ridge Road.
Thank you very much. And can you tell me a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Human Rights Commission?
I just want to be part of it. I just want to be part and involved. I've been standing on the sideline. I've been in Revere over 20 years, raised my family here. My grandkids come visit. I see the changes and the diversity, and I talk to my neighbors. I have a dog, so of course you see everyone. And I see our city going in a great direction, and I want to be involved in that. I want to learn as much as I can and be part of the city.
Great, thank you. Any counselors? Well, I say do a good job for the city, and we're going to, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is, there's no further business. This includes the April 7th appointment subcommittee meeting. The zoning subcommittee meeting is up next. Thank you.
Welcome to the zoning subcommittee of April 7th, 2025. All rise and salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the zoning subcommittee members, Councilor Agenzio.
Here.
Here, Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Here.
Here, Councilor Jaramillo. Is absent. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here, and Chairman Zambudo.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. One item on tonight's agenda, and there's a special permit request to raise the existing non-conforming structure and construct a 5-story mixed-use development consisting of 52 residential units and 2 commercial units at 114 Shirley Avenue.
Name and address, Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, Attorney Joseph Catogio, 1 Sprague Street, Revere, representing the applicant who's making this presentation initially for a special permit application. One small correction. I know the initial application had a 52-unit building being proposed. We're actually amended that to a 50-unit building with 48 residential, 2 commercial or retail units on the first floor. This application was initially presented to Site Plan Review, who made the requirement that we apply for this special permit, and along with it, some initial recommendations on some amendments to the plan. We incorporated those amendments into the plans that were submitted to the City Council, and at the direction of the City Council, it was directed here to the Zoning Subcommittee. And in the interim, Site Plan Review updated their list of requirements, and on March 27th, I believe, presented to this board and to the council a list of recommendations and requirements for the construction, should this, the council approve. We reviewed and accepted those proposals. We would be more than happy to incorporate each of them into the proposal. We have our engineer, our architect here to answer any specific construction questions, which are beyond my capability. But we hope to be able to address any questions, concerns you have, and look forward to a positive an approval of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. We went over this, obviously, after the public hearing. Any other, I'll call it proponents, even though it's not proponents. Anybody else want to speak in favor of this or against it or whatever? Name and address, please.
Lou McCarkis, 152 Linway. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly, I just wanted to let everybody know that this has been the culmination of over a year of working not only with the local councilor. I was happy to be part of the initial resurgence of Shirley Ave. When this councilor came and asked for the right developer, we took the synagogue and turned it into the 30 units of veterans preference housing, first of its kind. And when the previous administration wanted outdoor seating, that's what we gave them. When they wanted a police substation on the first floor, that's what we gave them. So when the sellers came to me on this particular property and said that we spent 20 years, 7 days a week, we're done, we'd like you to get the right developer and clean up the site. Didn't have to look too far. We have another local developer, had the community meeting, try to get the input. Although it's far from perfect, I think that it's another piece to the puzzle for the resurgence of Shirley Ave. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McCarkis. Anybody else? I guess we go to councilors. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we had a community meeting to let everybody know what was going on, and we had 5 or 6 local neighbors, and 4 or 5 of them were in total favor of it. One immediate abutter had an issue, but, you know, that's something that they'll have to deal with. I do have some questions on the site plan review report, and I don't know if the architect or the engineer could answer some question whether or not these things are legit. On item number 1, I've had a landscaping plan, including perimeter stockade fence, at least 6 foot in height, and the planting of 6-foot evergreens as buffer between the project site and the abutting residential property.
Can one of the, either the architect or the engineer come to the podium, please?
Thanks, guys. And basically, the question is there enough room from the building to the property lines to put in all these trees? I'm not sure. I don't remember if there was enough room. I think we gave them 5 feet as part of the variance. I'm just curious to see if there's enough room to put those trees in there.
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance. What's here is the site plan here. You might recall the building on the westerly side used to be right up to the property line. That's since been pulled back. There's about 2.5 feet off that property line there, and there's a notch out in the front to allow for the transformer to be located there. So there could be plantings put in that area. There's plenty of room along this back property line for plantings and along this whole property line for plantings as well.
I just want to make sure there's enough room for the planters, the plants to be put in and still safely and still exist with only, 2 feet in this case.
Yeah, and 2.5 feet, I mean, we could get a row of arborvitaes or something in there that could create sort of a green wall on that side.
Okay, and the other question is on item number 6, about the planting of 6 trees on Shirley Ave in front of the building. I know we've always had an issue there because of the underground power that goes from the light for the lighting on Shirley Ave. And it's always been expressed to me that there may be a problem planting trees because of that underground trough that's there. So I just want to make sure, I don't mind the trees being there, I just want to make sure it doesn't interfere with anything.
Yeah, correct. I remember when we had the site plan review, you actually brought that point up when site plan review mentioned the idea of putting street trees along Shirley Ave there. But I think what we're willing to do is see if we can work around the electrical. Maybe there's some opportunity to get some, maybe not trees, but planters if it's in the backside against the building, or get the trees in there if we can work around the electrical ducts.
Yeah, actually, I think planters maybe along Shirley Ave side, maybe better, nice-looking planters instead of the actual tree itself.
Yeah, we could do the same well, same size well, like a 3x8 well, which would leave enough room for that sidewalk, 'cause it's a wider sidewalk there, and be able to put some planters right up against the building, and then not interfere with the electrical. Those electrical conduits are usually about 30 inches deep, so if we did some shallow shrubbery-type planting, then they should be able to
Okay,
coexist
yeah,
without a problem.
and that was one of my concerns. And the last item I had was in item number 11, about parking in the back. I don't remember how many spaces we were gonna.
We had 9 parking spaces.
9? Well,
Yeah.
and the site plan review is requiring you to put in 2 parking spaces for zip cars. And also, and that includes power for those.
Yeah, what we would probably do, we have 2 handicap spaces right here. The rest of these are head-in. There's 2 parallel spaces here. It would make sense to make those 2 parallel spaces the zip car spaces.
Okay, so that takes care of 4 spaces, so that leaves you with 5 spaces left over.
Correct.
Are you going to provide a couple for the retail spaces that are going to be on the first floor? You would,
They're for the retail? They're for the retail. They'll be dedicated to the retail?
the other 5?
The other 5, there's
So none of them will be for the residents, because the way it was worded here was about the leasehold agreements and the number of off-street parking spaces, which they can't get, because of no
Correct.
permits. But I was just concerned about, some of it was kind of leaning towards some of the tenants, but it's not, absolutely no tenant parking back there. Okay. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'm good with this, and I think the the developer has made an offer, because I know there was some talk about affordable housing, and I did talk to him this afternoon. Joe, if it's okay for me to say something at this point? Okay. He did offer, he couldn't, the bank wouldn't let him put any affordable housing into the units because of the amount of money that's being put into the building. But he did make an offer to put in $20,000 towards the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, so which I think is a good move.
That's generous of him, but I don't think we make that part of the special permit.
It's an offer that he's making, and I
Yeah,
think
that's
I think this
Yeah.
committee ought to accept it.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Attorney, how do you want to?
Again, it was discussed and presented. It's not something we were looking, as far as a precedent goes, for, for any other developers. We were, just looking to address a concern. So it's made, it's presented. If it's not part of the special permit, we'll obviously still stand by it, but
Yeah, okay.
it doesn't
All right.
need to be
That's great. Okay.
a condition. We will comply.
All right, we don't have much time, we got to continue. Councilor Aramel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, so I know they made this offer to contribute to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I do have some concerns, right? So for the past year or so, the committee, this council has not approved any property without at least one unit at 85% of AMI. Now, for the viewers at home, 80% of AMI in the city of Revere is $91,200.30. If a renter is going to pay 30% of their rent on that amount of money, that's $27,360 divided by 12 months. This is for one person. You're talking about a rent of $2,280. Now, I bring that to this point because we're talking about 50 units in the city's most dense workforce population, and the developer has mentioned that they're going to do 20,000. You don't want to put it in the permit, and there's some talk about arts something, but there's no plans before us. And so, what is the developer actually offering to the working people, which we could barely say that someone that makes $91,000 as a single person is truly, really struggling, and they are. And so I do have that question. I'd like to know, how are we going to address the affordability crisis that it's pricing out our professionals from City Hall? They're having to move to the south because they can't afford. Now, I really appreciate the calls that I've gotten. The folks that are involved in this project are good people. But I do worry that we're missing the mark on the workforce housing here. And $20,000 doesn't even cover, at 80% of AMI, doesn't even cover 1 year's rent for one person. So I do call the question on that, Mr. Chair, and I move that the $20,000 be added to the special permit, and I'll ask for a roll call on that. So $20,000, that it be added to the
Okay.
special permit, the $20,000 be given from the developer to the Riviera Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Councilor Guarino Suaya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just afraid that this is going to set a precedent. I think it's going to set a precedent, and we don't, I mean, if he offered to give it to us and he promised to give the $20,000, why don't we just take it at that instead of trying to start a precedent that everyone's going to say, well, this is what they did, and we're not going to put in the affordable housing units because I can just give you $20,000 at some point. I don't know.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Alcindor? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had your hand up. I was going to call you Mr. President. I can't do that. Mark will get mad. You never lose the title, though.
Anthony Cogliandro, 105 Newman Street, Revere, Ward 3 City Councilor. It's not that I don't agree with what you're saying. I want to help as many people as we can, but to put this in a special permit, to Councilor Guarino-Sawaya's point, is going to set a very dangerous precedent. Who are we as a body to tell a developer how much money they have to give on the side to the Affordable Trust Fund? We should not be in the business of doing that. Thank you.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could you speak a little bit more about the space or the meeting space that was supposed to be provided for the Public Arts Commission? I know somebody spoke here last week and was looking forward to that. Is that just a gentleman's agreement, or is?
At this point, it is, but we were, there are two retail or commercial spaces that are on the first floor. We were approached by the gentleman from the Arts Committee. I'm sorry, what was it? Brian. And we were receptive to his approach and would be willing to work with him. We haven't finalized anything at this point. I would love to be able to tell you that we did, but we are open to it. We know that it is something that he was very passionate about. If that is something that we can work out as a positive for this project, and we look forward to doing that.
Is there some sort of a community room in there or something? Where would, if that did come to fruition?
Honestly, we're not sure. He would be better to speak on how he would use, or that committee or program would use that space. He talked a lot about using it as a basis, but actually having a lot of programs outdoors in the beach area, you know, close by to that, to the unit. I know Shirley Ave is tight. But he, working out of that area, he was looking forward to making presentations on the beach, on the open areas in that area. And again, we thought it was a wonderful idea and would be happy to work with him, but he would probably be better available to speak on that.
Thank you. All set.
Councilor Novoselsky. Ira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the retail spaces, right now, they're open for anybody to rent. Okay, in a case like this with the Arts Commission, that's something that Brian would have to work with the mayor to set up an RFP, actually, to rent space, you know, in private property. So that's, you know, it's only talk, it's only his request, and, you know, if, you know, it's down the road, you know, he's still talking 2 years down the road before they moved in, but, you know, he's looking for something now even to utilize for the arts on Shirley Ave, which there is one potential space, but it's really small. But right now, it's open, it's an open door for them to rent to whomever they want.
Mr. Makakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the discussion we had at the community meeting, the issue is the funding. The developer was open to that. He felt that the Arts and Cultural District, since we are a diverse community in Shirley Ave, would be the perfect place. But I do believe Joe made that commitment that provided they had the funding, it would be similar to what we did with the police substation. There was like an RFP that went out, and they ended up there. But I think it's more, the issue is with the funding of that Arts and Cultural Commission.
They would probably offer a discount rate.
But he made that commitment.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So you want to speak again, or you want to?
Yeah, I just have a
talk
question.
about the same thing?
I have a follow-up question on this arts.
Oh,
thing.
go ahead.
I'd just like to know, is there a vehicle for sustainable funding for this arts commission or committee space? Because if there isn't right now, then I do want to call the question as to how do we expect that this space is actually going to be something that's going to be used for the community if we don't have a vehicle for sustainable funding. And so
We have the
I'd love to-
chairman of the Arts Commission here.
Hi, Joanne McKenna, and I am the chairman of the Arts Committee. We don't have any money. I mean, we have zero in the bank. So I don't know how we were going to get the funding or if the city would fund it, but I mean, where we have a new high school and where we have to pay rent, I don't think this is going to happen. I hate to, put a negative deal on this, but especially for Brian, because he's been working so hard on this, but we don't have a bank account, so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks for your honesty. Okay, so now what's on the table is Councilor Aramello has a proposal to put this in the special permit. Some of us want that, some of us don't. So we're going to have a
Chairman?
roll call as to whether or not the
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
$20,000
withdraw my motion.
You withdraw, okay. Thank you. So that's withdrawn. So on the special permit, with the conditions that the clerk is... I will waive the reading of the conditions. They're certainly part of the record, and they've been agreed to by the developer and the team. So, want to call the roll?
Shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to the city council to grant the relief requested, subject to the conditions of site plan review? Counselor Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
No.
No. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit will be forwarded to the full city council this evening with a favorable recommendation. No further business.
That ends the zoning subcommittee for April 7, 2025. Thank you all for attending.
Good evening, and welcome to the April 7th meeting of the Economic Development Subcommittee meeting. All rise to salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call of the Economic Development Subcommittee. Counselor Agenzio. Counselor Agenzio?
Excuse me, yes.
Here. Counselor Haas?
Here.
Here. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yeah, here.
Here. Counselor Novoselsky?
Here.
Here. And Chairwoman Guarino Sawaya?
Here.
Here, quorum is present. There's one item on tonight's agenda, and that's a communication from the Chief of Planning and Community relative to the conveyance of certain tax title properties to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board of Trustees.
State your name and address, please.
Good evening, councilors. Tom Skorowski, 281 Broadway. I'm here tonight to talk about the conveyance of 5 parcels to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. These are parcels that were taken by the city for non-payment of taxes a long time ago, over a decade in some cases, and have been on the city's ownership for quite some time. And through a review from our legal counsel, they had determined that these could be sites that could be utilized for the production of single-family affordable homeownership opportunities. That being said, I will say each of the sites comes with some significant constraints, and in many cases, it might not even be likely or possible that development could actually take place on those sites. So the language as we had written it is conveying these properties either for the production of affordable housing on site or through the sale of that property, utilizing the proceeds of the sale perhaps to a side yard, a butter, or that would probably be the other most likely interest, somebody who is a neighbor buys the property to expand their yard or to expand, create parking. In those cases where development is impossible, then the proceeds from that sale would also go to the Affordable Housing Trust. So happy to talk about each of the individual parcels with you all, and pros, cons, and challenges within each of them, and take any questions as you have them.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Green. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom and I have had discussions on item number 3 on Hitchborn Street. And as of last week, I knew there was there's an easement, a city easement going through, a utility easement going through the property, which, probably takes up about 10 feet from the property line into the space. And I'm not for any construction on that piece of land. The building would be very, very small. I don't mind selling it. I know the abutter is willing to bid on it, if it goes out for an RFP or when it goes out for an RFP. But I would still say it's an unbuildable lot, and I think we ought to vote to make it that it's an unbuildable lot. I don't know about the other 4 lots, but I'm not happy about building on this small piece of property.
And I would just add, upon further review, our legal counsel stated it was buildable. We had an initial review by our city planner deeming that it's buildable, but after talking with our city engineer and the nature of the easements beneath and the impracticality of relocating them, I agree with you. This should be sold to one of the abutters on either side.
Still in an RFP process.
Correct.
Yeah, because there's 2 abutters. One is a private owner, and the other one is a group owner from Mass Health, I believe it is. So they just built a new building on the property next door. So I don't know if they'd want that to expand their property, but I know the individual owner for 140 Hitchborn Street is willing to buy it if the other folks don't want to buy it. So he's willing to put a bid in for it as an unbuildable lot. Thank you.
Councilor Genzio.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Skorowski. Do any of these properties meet our zoning to build a single family?
Yes and no. They all meet it through some fashion. So the state highway parcel would meet it through the undersized lot provision, and only if you consider State Road as the frontage, not Butler or Eustis, which is the additional frontage it has. The North Shore rear property would need an NOI and likely an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, and again, would be one of those pre-qualified undersized lots. Glendale and Bay Road would both need a special permit from the ZBA for the development of an undersized lot, and similarly, given their proximity to wetlands, would need Conservation Commission action. So all of these are complicated. There's a reason they've been in city hands for a while. The intent here would be, frankly, we've sold a couple of these through auction in the past where we just sort of buyer beware, if you will. Here, we're actually going to be working with a realtor who will work and come to a development agreement with a prospective buyer, but not close on that agreement until they've actually worked through the steps. So we're working to make sure that it's actually a lot that could be developable in some fashion.
Thank you very much. I'm all set.
Anyone else? Anyone? Any counselors? Okay. Counselor Haas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom, I know you said this has happened a few times in the past. Was that a handful of times? Was that maybe 15 times?
It's auctions of tax title properties happen quite often in municipal government. I think what we're doing here in terms of doing an RFP and walking through the process, I'm not sure if we've ever done this before. I've done it before in another community, but auctions happen quite often.
Thank you.
Counselor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Being on the council for so long, we have done this in the past, and, it has worked in some cases. Some people just bought it as an abutting property, to utilize, either putting a garage on it or, using it for additional parking for the home, whether it's a multi-family home, and it gets cars off the street. So, but I would move that once we do this, that property on Hitchborn Street be slated as an unbuildable lot and make that as part of the motion. And so people know that when it goes out to bid, they can't build a private home on it. If they wanted to put a garage on it, that's something that and depending on the side yard and rear yard, they'd have to go through ZBA to do that as part of their own property. So, when I say non-buildable, I'd say a garage would be acceptable, but not a family home. Thank you.
Request to speak from the chair? Thank you. I understand where you're coming from, Councilor Novoselsky. Most of the properties here that we're speaking about are in Ward 5. And I was doing some thinking about it, and if people want to take those properties, purchase those properties and add more parking or add more, build more on their land, I think it would be fantastic. Or the best part of it is by giving ownership of these properties to the board, we're giving them a chance to actually turn empty lots into real homes for people that can't afford to buy an actual home. So, for example, we can bring more low-income housing for a smaller lot, and people can maybe afford to live in the city of Revere who normally cannot afford to live there. So if they are buildable, I would say yes to letting the people purchase it. So for the low income. But I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think we need to do a little bit more investigating on it to see if they are actually completely buildable or what type of permits that are going to be needed and stuff like that. But I don't know how the board feels. I would like to leave this in committee. I don't know how everyone feels. So could we leave it in committee? Ashley?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Whatever the committee members decide, if you can say
All in favor, all opposed, leave it in committee?
So I just have a question. This is just to convey it to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So at that point, it will be determined if they're buildable, if they can be built on, if they're going to be sold to the abutters.
Correct.
So that determination won't come till the future.
Councilor Genzio, if you don't mind, through you to the councilor, Madam Chair. What Tom is, and he's explaining it excellently, but I speak council, so I'm still fluent. Ultimately, we can't just sell these off to anyone. We can't have the neighbor come and say, I'll give you $20,000, we want it to use for extra driveway space. It has to go out through a public RFP process and a bidding process. Each parcel can be purchased. Now, there's no guarantees, but what the general hopes are, outside of, there is one that we identified as completely unbuildable because of the easement, is the hopes is that a qualified bidder, or bidders, many bidders, will purchase these properties and be able to build. We will hope to help them attain variances. This would be through a typical variance process to build an affordable home ownership opportunity. So let's just say a lot was 3,800 square foot. It was short of 200 square feet. Not totally uncommon in the city of Revere to build a single-family house, sometimes even a multi-family house. But in order for us to grant that variance, you will have to build it and sell it at an affordable rate to a Revere homeowner. There's no opportunity in the city like this right now, and there hasn't been ever. So by us taking control and having a little bit of giving the potential builder, because the city doesn't build. We always talk about building. We don't build homes. I'm not a very good builder. I don't know about any of you, but we just don't do that. So by offering it to a builder that would do it affordably and then sell it affordably, what we deem affordable through our Affordable Housing Trust, that is the win-win-win for everybody to a Revere resident. That's what we're hoping to happen. If, like the position in Ward 2, pardon me, is not buildable, and maybe it's worth a fake number, I'm going to use $100,000, we can then take that $100,000, reinvest it into the Affordable Housing Trust to, again, continue to offer affordable opportunities to residents of Revere. That's the other part. So they may not be buildable, there's no guarantees. That's kind of a buyer beware. And then they'll have to do their due diligence, just like you would if you were buying any other parcel. You'll have to do your due diligence. Like Tom mentioned, some of them may need variances. We're not giving any variances out with the purchase. We may help, and that would be with the support of the council and other, if they have to go through special permit. But that may be another incentive to build affordable. We will not help. I'm going to make it clear. We will not help if it is not for an affordable home ownership. I state that again because home ownership and rental are two totally different things. Ownership takes you out of that cycle. Rental doesn't. Not that I'm discounting rental. There's plenty of need for that too. But that's what we're hoping to do, is to really spark home ownership opportunities for residents of Revere. Thank you. Clear?
So, Madam Chair, I don't see any reason to leave it in committee. This sounds like a great program, and, I'd like to see it move forward.
Madam Chair, if I may, thank you for the lead-away. The only issue I see, as a big picture, is that when you advertise something as a buildable lot, and then they find out that it's not a buildable lot. Now, I'm not talking about my lot, I'm just talking about even the other 4 lots. We have to determine whether it really is buildable or not. And, that kind of ups the price. If it's buildable, the price goes up. If it's not buildable, the price goes down.
Right. So our intent through the RFP process versus just a traditional auction where you bid the dollar amount, it's yours. The recommendation from the legal counsel in this instance was actually to come to terms on an agreement for proposed development, but actually walk through with, basically in partnership with the developer, so we don't close on that deal until it's actually shown to be developable. So in those instances where it is shown not to be at the end of the day, like in yours, in this case, we know and we wouldn't market it as such. In the other cases, there might be opportunities we're not sure yet. That would be borne out in the process, working in partnership with whomever submits the winning proposal.
If I may, Madam Chair, you just hit a point that, auction rather than RFP. So why wouldn't you auction off the property on Hitchborn Street rather than put out an RFP?
I think you could, as long as, I think what we would have to work out the mechanics of is how that money would then get transferred over to the Affordable Housing Trust. Because what the language is here in the council would be to take it away from the tax title custodian who does those auctions and put it into the hands of the trust.
And I understand that's an issue that the city has to make a move on, to transfer it from whatever monies they get to put it into that account. And that's acceptable. But, whether it goes an RFP or an auction is a big issue for me, because why should my guy have to go through, or my neighbor have to go through an RFP and everybody else has to go through an auction? So you stay across the board with everything. And if you're going to have an auction at each location. Whoever shows up bids on it, and that's it.
So I think this is the only one I would recommend an auction if we were to pursue it at all, but we'd have to work out the mechanics. I think the others, there's virtues to the RFP model that are worth sticking with because of the various conditions that make it complicated.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
What is the committee's will? I would say we could do a favorable recommendation minus the Hitchborn property. Is that? Council Novoselsky?
I don't know if we do minus, we would still want to get rid of the property, or move the property on. But so, I would say that,
So
to specify that one as unbuildable right away. I don't
Can we
mind going with all
specify it as
five.
unbuildable?
We certainly can, and I think you can do an RFP that's a pretty light lift for a project like that. We'll be asking more of a developer if they're looking to actually build. Here it is, what do you want to do? Written description, what do you want to pay? And then we'll get the various proposals in and can evaluate it on its merits. I think the challenge is, once you get into auctions, you need an auctioneer and all that stuff. And I think we'd want to keep it RFP, but I think we can capture the spirit of what you're asking.
Thank you. Thank
Madam
you.
Clerk, can you do a roll call, please? For favorable recommend, yes. Yes.
Shall the Economic Development Subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to the full City Council to convey the following parcels to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund? State Highway, parcel ID 16238-1, North Shore Road rear, parcel ID 13-192U1-1, Hitchborn Street, Lot 41, parcel ID 8-127-13, Glendale Street, lots 137, 138, and 139, parcel IDs 11-188A1-6, -7, and -8, and Bay Road, lots 88A and 89A, parcel ID 10-187C-37. Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Here we go.
Counselor Argenzio voting yes. Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairwoman Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes, the conveyance of those tax title properties to Affordable Housing Trust Fund has received a favorable recommendation. There's no further business, Chairwoman.
Seeing that there's no further business, this concludes the April 7th Economic Development Subcommittee meeting. Thank you.